The University of Georgia College of Agricultural and Environmental Sciences, in partnership with the professional landscape industry, proudly presents planting procedures for woody ornamentals in the landscape. Proper planting is the first step toward healthy, vigorous growth of ornamental plants in the landscape. It assures rapid plant establishment by providing a favorable environment for the developing root system. However, proper planting involves much more than just digging a hole and putting in a plant. Before planting, carefully analyze the site. Make note of any discarded construction debris or trash that must be removed. Look at the condition of any existing plants on the site and determine if they should stay or if they should be removed. Also, make note of any existing grass or weeds that need to be removed. See if there are any low spots or areas where drainage may be a problem. Look at how the sun and shade patterns change throughout the day. Some plants, like junipers, need full sun, while others, like hosta, require shade. By taking a little extra time to inspect the site, making note of what site changes are needed to assure good plant growth, and making sure the right plant is chosen for each location, costly maintenance problems can be avoided later on. If you have any questions about the planting plan or see any potential problems with the site, discuss them with your supervisor. Landscape sites are often littered with pieces of roofing materials, lumber, cement, lime rock, brick, or plastic. This debris may be harmful to plant growth and should be removed. Look for any evidence of chemical spills like motor oil, gasoline, cleaning fluids, or paint. It may be necessary to remove the top 12 to 15 inches of contaminated soil and replace it with new topsoil. Some existing plants may need to be removed before planting, including those damaged by construction equipment, those that look unhealthy, or those that just don't fit the new planting plan. When renovating a landscape, some grass or weeds may need to be killed with an herbicide and removed to make way for new beds. Be sure to read the label and follow all application rates and safety precautions when using any pesticide. Soil compaction from construction equipment is another hazard to plant growth. Compacted soils not only slow root growth, but are also often poorly drained. Some soils contain a layer of compacted clay called a hard pan, several inches beneath the surface. This causes poor drainage and a weak root system. A soil probe helps determine if there is a hard pan or rock underground that may cause drainage problems. A compact layer of clay in this soil profile indicates a potential drainage problem. Holes dug in poorly drained soils become pockets of standing water after rain or irrigation. Plants often decline or die as their roots suffocate from a lack of oxygen in waterlogged soils. Deep tilling or subsoiling prior to planting is one possible solution to poorly drained sites. Many landscape firms make deep tilling standard operating procedure when preparing new sites for planting. On extremely heavy soils, the only solution may be to construct a raised bed of well-drained topsoil, 12 to 18 inches above the existing soil grade. Most ornamental plants form 80% of their roots in the top 12 inches of soil, so a raised bed will get their roots above the poorly drained soil. Slope beds so that water drains away from the foundation of buildings and planting areas. In some situations, subsurface drain pipe may be needed to carry the water away from the planting site. As beds are prepared, take a soil sample to your local county extension office for testing. The test will determine the lime and fertilizer requirements of the soil. Take soil from 10 to 12 random spots in the area to be planted. Mix it in a plastic bucket, then take about a cup of the mixture for testing. Your county extension office can offer advice and supplies needed for soil testing. Careful handling of plants from the nursery to the planting site is essential. Always lift and carry plants by their containers or root balls, not by their trunks or branches. This is especially true for balled and burlapped plants. When plants are lifted by their trunks or branches, their root systems can be damaged as the weight of their root balls pulls downward. Large plants may require 2 or more people to carry them. A tree dolly is useful for moving large plants with heavy root balls or containers. If plants are transported on an open bed truck, cover them with a tarp to prevent foliar damage from wind. When arriving at the job site, place the plants in a shaded area. Avoid jamming the plants together and injuring their leaves and branches. Space them out so their canopies do not touch. Always water plants thoroughly before moving them to their planting location and before removing them from their containers. A dry root ball is difficult to re-wet after it is planted. Watering helps prevent transplant shock. If plants cannot be planted right away, place them in a shaded, non-paved area, away from the direct wind and close to a water source so they can be kept moist. Check them daily and water them as needed. If bulb and burlap plants must be held several days before planting, cover the root balls with sawdust or pine straw to keep them moist. If large trees are held for later planting, keep them in a shaded, non-paved area. Protect their trunks from direct sunlight and keep their root balls moist. If tree canopies were tied for transport to the job site, cut the ties and allow the branches to assume their natural position. To prevent foliar damage, keep tree canopies well spaced so their limbs and foliage do not touch. If the planting specifications require an organic amendment, such as compost, be added to the planting area, it's best to spread it about 4 inches deep over the entire area to be planted. Then, use a rototiller to incorporate the soil amendment into the top 12 inches of soil. Research has shown that better root growth occurs when soil amendments are incorporated into the entire planting area than when they are placed in individual planting holes. Next, plants are laid out on the bed at the proper spacing and according to the planting plan. Adjust the spacing as necessary to assure a uniform-looking bed. Once you're satisfied with plant spacing, it's time to plant. Dig the planting holes 2 to 3 times wider than the root ball of the plant and only as deep as the root ball. Research has shown that a wide planting hole results in more rapid root growth and plant establishment than a hole dug no wider than the root ball. When planting a small containerized plant, carefully place your hand at the base of the plant, turn the container upside down, and slide off the container. If the outer roots appear matted or they are circling the root mass, it's standard practice in the landscape industry to make several vertical cuts approximately 1 inch deep on several sides of the root ball. This encourages the roots to grow outward and allows water to penetrate the root ball. Next, set the plant in the center of the planting hole, making certain the top of the root ball, where the main trunk meets the roots, is level with the soil surface. Planting depth is critical. If the root ball is too deep or too shallow, plants may become stressed and die. Make certain the soil in the bottom of the hole is firm and that it won't settle after planting. Turn the plant in the hole so its best side can be seen from all viewing angles. When planting bulb and burlap plants, cut the nylon cord or wire from around the base of the trunk. Then cut and remove the burlap from at least the top 1/3 of the root ball. If the root ball is small enough, remove the burlap entirely to prevent it from holding excess moisture and restricting root growth. When planting a large tree with its root ball in a wire basket, remove the strapping around the trunk, then cut and pull the wire and burlap away from the top 12 inches of the root ball. It may not be practical to remove the basket and burlap entirely. The next step in the planting process is to backfill the hole about 1/3 full with the soil removed from the hole after breaking apart clods and removing stones and other debris. Then water to settle the soil and remove air pockets. Continue adding backfill to within 1/3 of the top of the hole. Then water again. Finally, add more backfill to bring the soil to the original grade. Then water thoroughly one more time. Fertilizer is not required for plant establishment. In fact, most landscapers wait until plants are established before fertilizing them. However, some contracts require fertilizing at planting time. If a fertilizer is placed in the planting hole, use a slow-release product such as Osmocote that will not injure the roots. Some landscapers apply liquid fertilizers or liquid root promoters at planting time. Check with your supervisor about whether those types of materials are to be used. Some planting specifications require a ring of soil 3 to 4 inches high be shaped along the perimeter of the planting hole to form a saucer for directing water to the roots when the plants are irrigated during establishment. However, to prevent the soil from gradually eroding over the planting hole and suffocating the roots, it is important to remove the ring of soil 6 to 8 weeks after planting by using a rake to pull it outward and away from the hole. Trees taller than 4 feet or having a trunk diameter greater than 1 inch and trees planted in windy locations often require some type of support to hold them in place during establishment. The planting plan usually provides a detailed drawing of the type of support needed for the trees specified for the job. Be sure to follow the specifications to avoid problems during the final inspection. Staking is often done on trees between 1 and 2 inches in trunk diameter. A common staking system involves placing 2 wooden stakes on opposite sides of the root ball and 6 to 12 inches deeper than the root ball. Nylon strapping is often used to secure the tree to the stakes. Use a material that will not rub and injure the bark on the tree. For trees larger than 2 inches in trunk diameter, guying is done to hold them in place during establishment. A common guying technique involves pounding 3 equally spaced wooden stakes into the ground at a 45-degree angle just outside the planting hole. These stakes should be pointing away from the tree. Then nylon strapping is used to secure the tree to the stakes. The nylon strapping is placed just above the lowest scaffold branches. It should be firmly attached, but it should allow the tree to move slightly with breezes. Research has shown that slight movement of the tree during establishment results in a stronger root system and stockier trunk. Once planting is complete, a layer of mulch 3 to 5 inches deep is placed on the soil surface. Mulches serve a number of useful purposes. They hold moisture in the soil, help prevent erosion and weeds, and provide a buffer zone that will prevent trunk and root damage from weed eaters and other lawn equipment. Pine straw, pine bark, and shredded hardwood mulches are commonly used in the Southeast. The final step in the planting process is to water plants thoroughly to settle the soil and eliminate air pockets that can dry out the roots. Cleanup is an important part of every landscape job. Be sure to pick up flats, pots, shovels, rakes, and other equipment or supplies before leaving the job site. Neatly groomed beds with well-defined edges provide the finishing touch that show clients the quality of your work. The first 4 to 6 weeks after transplanting is a critical time for newly installed ornamental plants. Water as necessary to maintain a uniform soil moisture level. Remember, your skill at planting determines the future quality and maintenance requirements of the landscape. As you can see, the planting process involves far more than simply digging a hole and putting in a plant. It begins with a thorough analysis of the site, a soil test to determine nutrient needs of the soil, and soil preparation that will assure good drainage and optimum root growth. The step-by-step planting procedures presented in this training are research-based and proven to result in quality growth and rapid plant establishment. Dig the planting hole 2 to 3 times wider than the root ball and no deeper than the root ball. Place the top of the root ball level with the soil surface. Backfill with the soil removed from the hole. Water thoroughly throughout the planting operation to settle the soil. Apply 3 to 5 inches of mulch on the soil surface. Maintain uniform soil moisture during establishment. The result of your effort and attention to detail is a beautiful environment that you, your client, and your employer will be proud of for many years to come.